Somewhere in the United States right now, there is a camper van sitting in a driveway. It has maybe 4,000 miles on it, it is clean, it is fully equipped, it cost its owners somewhere between $80,000 and $120,000, and it is for sale. Not because anything broke, not because the owner ran out of money, because they bought the wrong life. And the van was the most expensive reminder of that mistake they have ever owned. You have probably heard the claim that 70% of campervan buyers end up regretting their purchase. There is no single verified national study behind that exact number, but when you look across owner communities, buyer discussions, and the recurring reasons people sell their vans far earlier than planned, one thing becomes difficult to ignore. Campervan buyer regret is far more common than the people selling these vehicles will ever tell you. And almost every story sounds the same. The buyer did their research, they watched the videos, they visited the dealerships, they compared floor plans and chassis ratings and tank capacities. They were not careless, they were not uninformed. They just researched the wrong things. That is what this video is about. Not which van is best, not which brand to trust, but why intelligent, well-prepared buyers spend $100,000 of their retirement savings on something they end up barely using, and what the buyers who get it right actually did differently. By the end of this video, you will understand the 6 specific reasons campervan regret happens, why buyers who research extensively still fall into these traps, and the 3 questions that separate a smart purchase from an expensive mistake. If you have not bought yet, what you are about to hear could be the most important part of your entire buying process. The real problem nobody names. Before we get into the specific reasons, you need to understand the one thing that sits behind almost all of them. Campervan regret is almost never about the van. That surprises people, because when buyers talk about regret, you expect to hear about reliability problems, or a brand that let them down, or a floor plan that did not work the way the brochure showed. And sometimes those things are part of the picture. But in the vast majority of regret stories discussed across owner communities, the van performed exactly as advertised. The problem was that the buyer's life did not match the life they thought they were buying into. That is a much harder problem to solve, because you can fix a van, you can upgrade it, modify it, sell it, and buy another one, but you cannot as easily fix a vision of your own retirement that turned out to be more fantasy than plan. The dealers know this. They've known it for years, and there's not a single person in that showroom with a financial incentive to bring it up. So let's go through the actual reasons, because once you see the pattern, you can't unsee it. Reason 1. They bought too big. This is one of the most common complaints that comes up in long-term owner discussions. Buyers imagined living large, they bought large, then real life showed up. Walk into any dealership and stand inside a 23 or 24-foot motorhome. It feels spacious. It feels entirely reasonable for 2 people planning to spend months on the road. What you cannot feel standing in that parking lot is what it's going to be like driving that vehicle through a mountain pass in Colorado, or finding a campsite in a busy national park, or backing into a spot at 9 o'clock at night after a long day of driving. Size costs you freedom. That's the thing no floor plan photo ever shows you. Some campgrounds have length restrictions, some roads, parking areas, and sites become considerably more difficult with a larger vehicle. Certain destinations that would be routine in a smaller, more maneuverable van become stressful decisions in a larger one. And over time, that friction adds up. Trips get shorter, destinations get safer. Eventually, some owners admit they stopped going to the places they originally bought the van to reach because the van itself made those places too complicated. One pattern appears again and again in owner discussions. Buyers who prioritized maneuverability found that advantage paid off far more than they expected. Not because a bigger van is wrong for everyone, but because those buyers had accurately predicted how they would actually travel, not just how they imagined traveling on their best day. If you are standing in a dealership and the salesperson is nudging you toward the larger floor plan, understand what that conversation is. It's a margin conversation. It is not a lifestyle conversation. Reason 2. They bought for the trip they imagined, not the trips they actually take. This is where the fantasy of van life and the reality of van life diverge most sharply and most expensively.
Before people buy, they imagine the long trip, the 3-month journey across the country, the national parks route they've been planning since they were tired. That trip is vivid and real in their mind, and the van gets sized, spec'd, and purchased around that trip. Then life happens. A health issue pushes the big journey back a year, a family obligation changes the plan, one partner turns out to be less enthusiastic about extended travel once it is no longer theoretical. The dream trip happens, but sometimes in a shorter form than originally imagined, and the rest of the year, that $100,000 vehicle sits. The question most buyers ask before they buy is, what is the longest trip I might ever take? The question they should be asking is, what is the trip I will actually take most often? Because your van should be built around your Tuesday trip, your long weekend, your 2-week summer drive, not the once-in-a-decade journey you may or may not take. Optimizing an expensive vehicle for your best-case scenario and then using it primarily for something much smaller is one of the most consistent themes across regret discussions. This doesn't mean the big trip isn't worth planning for. It means the van that serves your real travel life is almost always a better purchase than the van that serves the version of your travel life you picture while watching YouTube. Reason 3. They underestimated the total cost of ownership. This one is predictable, and buyers still walk into it because until you own one of these vehicles, the numbers are abstract. The purchase price is the beginning of the cost. It is not the summary. Fuel. A Class B campervan in good conditions might return somewhere in the range of 18 to 22 miles per gallon, depending on the chassis, load, and driving conditions. A larger Class C or motorhome can drop well below that. That gap in fuel economy is not a rounding error over a year of regular travel. It's a real and recurring expense. Insurance. Campervans are not insured like personal vehicles. RV-specific policies vary considerably depending on the vehicle's value, how you plan to use it, and whether you are occasional use or full timing. If you didn't model that number before advance, your first renewal will be a surprise. Maintenance and repairs. A campervan combines the mechanical maintenance of a vehicle with the maintenance of a small apartment. Tires, brakes, and engine service, everything you would expect from any vehicle, but also water systems, electrical systems, refrigeration, and climate control. RV technicians are in short supply in many parts of the country, and wait times at service centers can run into weeks. That's not a dealership problem, it's a structural issue in the industry that owners document consistently. Storage. If you can't park the vehicle at your house, you're paying storage fees. In many parts of the country, that runs from $100 to $400 per month, depending on location and facility type. Campground fees. The national parks and premium destinations most buyers are picturing are not free. Nightly fees at popular sites can run from $40 to $90 or more, and reservations at desirable locations often need to be secured months in advance. A full month of active travel at those rates is a line item that should be in your budget before you buy.
Reason 4. The layout looked right. It wasn't. This is the regret that is hardest to predict before you own the vehicle and hardest to fix once you do. Floor plan decisions feel like minor preferences when you are standing in a dealership. They are not. You are choosing the layout of the space where you will eat, sleep, relax, and store everything you need for weeks at a time. Here's how the experience tends to go. Night 1. Exciting. Everything is new. The fold-down bed is part of the adventure. The compact bathroom is charming. You are living the dream. Night 7. Routine. You're moving through the setup efficiently. You barely notice the inconveniences. Night 21. Different. The convertible bed takes 3 minutes to build and 3 minutes to tear down, and you have done it 42 times. The wet bath is the size it has always been, and today it is not charming, and you're starting to wonder whether you researched the right things. The most documented floor plan regret involves beds, specifically the fixed bed versus convertible configuration. Many campervans in the mid-range price segment offer a convertible dinette arrangement, where the table folds down and the seat cushions rearrange into a sleeping surface. After the 3rd consecutive night of building and dismantling that setup, many couples find it significantly less appealing than it appeared in the walkthrough video. Owners who are able to modify their vehicle to a fixed sleeping configuration describe it as one of the best decisions they made.
Owners who could not make that change because the floor plan or vehicle size did not allow it are among the most consistently frustrated voices in owner forums. The second common floor plan regret is the wet bath. In a wet bath, the toilet and shower share a single small space. In a compact campervan after several weeks of continuous living, it becomes a daily exercise in patience that not every couple anticipates before they buy. Spend more than 5 minutes in the van before you commit. An hour. Simulate your real daily routine. Sit where you will actually eat breakfast. Lie on the sleeping surface in the configuration you will actually use. Open the storage that corresponds to the things you actually carry. The floor plan that earns your commitment should be the one that works in that exercise, not the one that looks best in photographs. The insight most buyers miss. Here is the part most people find uncomfortable because it challenges the entire way buyers approach this decision. When you are preparing to spend $100,000, the instinct is to research the product, and buyers do, thoroughly. They know chassis ratings, tank capacities, engine options, and floor plan dimensions. They have watched dozens of comparison videos. They have read through forum threads at midnight. What they almost never research with the same rigor is themselves. The buyers who are still grateful for their purchase 3 years in are not necessarily the ones who found the best van on the market. They're the ones who had an accurate picture of who they are as travelers before they ever walked into a dealership. They knew how they actually travel, not how they aspire to travel. They knew how often they realistically go. They knew how much space they actually need versus how much they imagine needing. They had an honest conversation with their partner about shared small space living, not the romantic version of it, but the real version, where someone needs quiet and the other wants the television on. That self-knowledge is not romantic. It does not make for a compelling YouTube video, but it is the single most reliable indicator across everything observed in owner communities of whether a campervan purchase becomes one of the best decisions of someone's retirement or a very expensive lesson. Before you research the next van model, and you absolutely should research van models, answer those questions about yourself first, write them down, be honest, then let the answers drive the decision. Reason 5. Too much technology, not enough reliability. This one has become more relevant as manufacturers have added layers of features to compete in an increasingly premium market. Modern campervans at the higher end of the price range now come equipped with solar management systems, lithium battery banks, touchscreen control panels, backup cameras, automated leveling systems, and in some cases, fully integrated climate and entertainment systems. In the showroom, every one of those features feels like a selling point. One lesson that comes up repeatedly among experienced owners is that every additional system adds another point of potential failure, and the RV service infrastructure is not always equipped to diagnose and repair proprietary electronic systems quickly. Owners of vans with tightly integrated technology have documented situations where a single component failure affected multiple systems simultaneously, and the repair required a specialized technician or a return to the dealer, neither of which is straightforward when you are several states from home. That does not mean you should avoid modern features. It means you should look at every technology item on the spec sheet and ask yourself one question. If this fails 2 years from now in a town I've never been to, what does that repair look like? The answer to that question changes how impressive the feature feels. Reason 6. They don't use it enough to justify it. This is the one that takes the longest to admit, and it produces some of the most persistent regret. Remember the Tuesday trip? The real trip, not the dream trip. This is where that question matters most. There's a version of campervan ownership where the vehicle is used consistently, the travel is frequent, and the experience genuinely justifies the investment. That version is real. Plenty of owners live it. And then there's the version where the van goes out 4 or 5 times a year, where it sits from November through April, where the annual carrying cost, insurance, storage, maintenance, fees adds up to many thousands of dollars before you count any major repairs, and the actual use doesn't come close to justifying it. Neither of those outcomes is fully predictable when you buy, but some of it is. If you were being honest with yourself before the purchase, and you can name fewer than 8 or 10 firm, realistic trips you would take in the first year, that's information worth sitting with. Not because it means don't buy, but because it might mean buy differently, smaller, simpler, less expensive to carry. Or it might mean rent first. Prove to yourself that the travel frequency is real before you anchor 6 figures to it. If your real life gives you 4 or 5 trips a year, don't build a 6-figure purchase around a fantasy calendar filled with 12 months of travel. The van will be ready for every one of those trips you imagined. The question is whether you will be. Late twist. The one reason that has nothing to do with the van. Just when you think every reason has been covered, there's one more. And this one has nothing to do with your lifestyle, your floor plan, or your travel frequency. It has to do with when you bought. The campervan and RV market experienced a significant surge in demand and pricing in the years following 2020. Buyers who purchased at or near the peak of that cycle paid prices the used market subsequently did not support. Depreciation that might have been gradual under normal conditions became steep and fast. Buyers who paid $110,000 found themselves looking at used market comparables tens of thousands of dollars lower within 18 months. The van was fine. The timing was expensive. A good campervan can still be a bad purchase if you paid too much for it. We are not in the business of predicting where the market goes next, but understanding whether you're buying during a period of elevated demand, when dealer lots are thin, delivery times are long, and there is no negotiation, is part of making a sound financial decision. Those conditions are not automatic reasons to wait, but they are reasons to be precise about what you are paying, what the realistic resale looks like 3 years out, and what your true cost of ownership becomes if you need to sell earlier than planned. The 3-question test. Instead of a generic list of who should buy and who should wait, here are 3 questions. Answer them honestly, on paper, not just in your head. Question 1. Would I still want this van if I could not take the big dream trip in the first year? If the answer is yes, that's a good sign. Your purchase is grounded in how you will actually use the vehicle. If the answer is no, if the entire justification depends on one trip happening exactly as you imagined, then you are buying on hope, not on plan. Question 2. Can I absorb the annual cost of this vehicle if I use it half as much as I expect? Not the purchase price, the annual carrying cost, insurance, maintenance, storage, fuel, fees. If that number only works when the van is being used constantly, and your actual travel history suggests otherwise, that gap deserves your attention before you sign. Question 3. Would I buy this exact floor plan after living in it for 30 days? Not 7 days, 30 days, because the layout that works for a week and the layout that works for a month are sometimes the same thing, and sometimes they're completely different. If you can't answer that question with confidence, find out before you commit, not after. The goal was never to talk you out of buying a campervan. The goal was to make sure you never become the person in that driveway, the one staring at $100,000 a vehicle they barely use, trying to understand how something they researched so carefully became the wrong decision. Because the smartest campervan buyer is not the one who finds the perfect van. It's the person who knows exactly why they need it and exactly what their real life looks like before they buy it. One last thing. If you already own a campervan, and especially if you went through a period where you seriously questioned whether you made the right decision, tell us in the comments what you wish someone had told you before you bought. Not the specs, not the model, the real thing. The thing nobody said in the dealership, the thing you had to find out on your own. That's the information that helps the people making this decision right now, and we read every comment.